Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me an honor to introduce Mr. C. Srinivasulu, VP HR, Lupin Limited. Sir has 25 years of HR professional experience in reputed MNCs, Indian corporates like Coca-Cola Beverages, Grasim Industries, MRF, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, currently working as Vice President, Human Resources with Lupin India Limited, Mumbai. In his professional career, Sir has been a key member in design, development and implementation of HR strategies on talent management, career development, assessment centers, progressive employee relations, people productivity, business turnaround of units, building inclusive and engaged culture in organizations. Sir has traveled widely in understanding and enhancing HR practices across industries around different parts of the globe and has been a core member of Indian teams to advance countries on HR and management practices. Sir, I welcome you here to enlighten us with your words. Thank you.
Let me take it now. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. Are we all ready? Yes. I understood that we had a very extended lunch. So, and then just immediately after the lunch, they said, Srini, you need to keep these boys and girls engaged. Okay, so that's a bit of a challenge. And but at the same time, I assure you people that I know I will not overstep the 30 or 40 minutes of time that Dr. Singh was talking to me about. Is that a promise to each one of us, between us? 30 to 45 minutes. Is that fair enough? Yes. Right. So I understand, there has been, you have been listening and any number of PowerPoint presentations that have been on since yesterday. So I said, I will not talk and show anything in terms of the jargons. You can be assured that, there will not be any jargons from my side. Yeah? Is that fair enough? Okay. And I will also not be talking about what the leaders are made out and how the tip of the iceberg can be seen and beneath the iceberg what is there and what not and what are those things that will be changing, what will it be in the future, etc. I'll try and make it as per whatever I tried to understand in my last 25 years. I'll just give you like what the person here was talking about. I went through the industries from the Hindustan Aeronautics, where I could see the best of technology during the years 85 to 91 when I was there. The first supercomputer came into India and I was part of that. I'm proud to be saying that. And if there was something that was happening in terms of a fly-by-wire technology, an optical fiber technology, that was something that was happening in that very same place in the Hindustan Aeronautics. So who are all these people who are these leaders, great leaders who are trying to make India be as tech savvy and bring it into the 21st century that Rajiv Gandhi was talking about those days, taking India into the 21st century? Who are these people? Who are these leaders? And subsequently, when I came along to a private enterprise, I just saw this young individual. He came into the so-called Madras during those days. He came in there. He was married, and during that time, I think he got about some 10 to 12,000 rupees, whatever his father-in-law thought, yes, I can give him. So, and this guy, he grew up in Kerala, along the plantation rubber areas, as he grew up as a child. And when he came in here with that 15,000 rupees, he just thought, I need to do something. There was something that is a burning passion that was there in him. It is not that, he was a great technocrat or anything, but there was a burning desire and passion, and he wanted to do something. And as naturally, the rubber plantations, etc., then he said, let me start making some balloons. What do you call it? The balloons that we all celebrate all those birthdays. So this guy, about 20 kilometers away from the city limits, he went there, put up a small machine there, and with a team of people who knew how to make that, the few technicians, he started making those balloons. So obviously this, what would he call this factory as? Some XYZ balloon factory, isn't it? He called this as a rubber factory. He was slightly different from others. Then he thought over, and every day as he came across, make those balloons there, drive the 20 kilometers in that patchy roads, which was still not on, come across to the city in a jeep, not the ones that we see on roads today, the old erstwhile the Mahindra's jeep. He would come across there, sell them, spend morning, and then come back only by the evening again to visit the market. A small thing happened at the time, that one day he came in the evening to sell his balloons. The children, they came around, they said, they wanted some specific thing. And this young man, he knew what it was. Because the previous day, what happened, the guy technician who was making it, he poured that latex, which he was keeping it in a small dish, he poured it on the floor. And it was not a great floor, it is a mud. And this guy, he tried to put it back into that tray. And obviously there was a lot of contamination, the dust and whatever. So this young man, he told him, don't worry, you make that balloon a little thicker, so automatically whatever contamination is there, when you blow it up, that contamination, the sand particles will fall inside. And the children, when they went across, that day they blew it up, and they heard the little sound inside. Okay? So these kids were more fascinated because it made the very great noise, which was different from the other one. And that is the first point of telling his people that you can create something different. And this man, he identified a team of his people. He was not a technocrat, I told you. Those days, what was called as the Dunlop, which was the world famous, the tire company, he took a permission and he went inside that plant. The four of the individuals, this gentleman who is only making some tread rubber, he went to see a tire plant which is a world #1, which is a Dunlop tire plant. As he visited inside with his team of people, he saw the huge calendars, huge presses, and the tread tubers, which were all the imported ones, the tandem calendars of different sizes. And they came back and then sat down. One guy was sitting there and trying to say, what is this? Can we make this this rubber factory into a great tire company? They sat down, every single imprint of what they saw, the huge calendars and whatnot, they made into the blueprints. He had the excellent team of his people who created entire design. Then they said, yes, this is where we start with our initial money. And then this is how we'll scale it up. And within a span of 15 years, he converted into a $1 billion company. And that's what you see every Saturday in terms of your newspaper behind, the tires you race or the tires you buy in terms of the MRF tires. Now, what is that this leader, whatever you wanted to try to understand, what exactly is this leader trying to do? I really don't want to say in terms of, what is that, whether you call it as the vision, whether he could see something in the future, whether he could connect those dots, whether he had the passion, whether it was his energy and amazing determination. What are those things that you want to really define these things as? It is every single one. You may call it as the vision, mission, statements and whatnot. You may draw the best of, you get Accentures and the best of consultants, Deloitte, etc. Put it on the table and you can draw them and then hang it around in your rooms as saying that, this is your vision statement. And take it from me that it only remains on the boards, hanging on the walls. It is what the individual imbibed, it is what this individual tried to do. You may have 101 examples of these people. Is whatever you can call about the Narayan Murthy's or the Dhirubhai's or in terms of the Steve Jobs, whatever you can. The leader of yesterday or today, or for that matter, the leader of tomorrow. He has, number one, in terms of a great vision. He knows that as to where he has to go. When all others are saying that, yes, the roads will lead into the expressway and from there into the Balaji Institute, this gentleman can think about entirely differently. You will call him a conky fellow. But he will take it in his stride and then pursue his goal. While 99% of us, we will say, what is that my next guy is going to say? So why should I unnecessarily break the path? Let me follow the thousands who are going along this line. This guy will have the determination to go entirely differently. Now, a leader, if he has to be different, and if he has to reach at his path, the fundamental area I can suggest is, one, in terms of the customer, the external environment, where exactly am I going to lead, and where am I going to place my products in. It can be a leader who is talking about saying that, the consumer, you do not know as to what you require. Let me tell you, this is what you require. And Steve Jobs, he gives you the apple in your hand to use as to what is required and what you have not experienced so far. Or it can be somebody, yes, I will do this incremental change and then I will take this path. And then I will give this consumer. But fundamentally, he is somebody who has not lost the contact with the consumer. The end customer or the consumer, what is that he needs? He has that primarily on his mind. And he knows as to where the consumer is going to go in the next 10 years. If that is not there, he is not a leader. Now, flowing from that would be in terms of, so how does this leader build his empire? You may talk about Dave Ulrich, who says about, you need to look at, identify whether you have the right people or not. You may have, in terms of Jim Collins, who says, who comes first and then what? But fundamentally, what is that this gentleman who did? He had a team of people around him. He has the uncanny ability to look at who are the right people who should be there with him. he has that uncanny ability to understand, identify, and pick up those right people. If he doesn't have that, he'll be a failure. You can imagine every single leader in every facet. We talked about the industry leader, or you can talk about the Mahatma Gandhis in the political arena. They definitely had the team of people who are as bright or brighter than the individuals themselves. Now today, in terms of, I have great respect for Dave Ulrich or in terms of John Younger, in terms of whatever research they have done and then made it into as simple a practicable one as possible. But at the same time, it is, you may have 101 assessment centers. Today we talk about in terms of HR people, you talk about I will create 101 assessment centers and then don't know what to do with that. On top of that, you ask him, my young people, they will come and tell me, no sir, we should do 360-degree evaluation also. That's because you are not able to do the assessment yourself. On top of it, you tell him, no sir, we should also have an SHL assessment. Because there are so many institutions that have come up. You can have all that, but you will not be able to substitute in terms of the manager's ability, in terms of identifying and his intuition and his judgment. A leader is somebody who will be different, who will be able to add his intuition and the judgment as well. Well, you can always use all those assessment centers and the SHLs or the 360s or the performance and the potential ratings, whatnot. You can use all that. But he has the uncanny ability to be able to arrive at who are the right people who are going to be there with him. And if he's not the right people, please offload those people from your bus. Because if you do not have the right set of people, they're not going to lead you anywhere, and they will misguide you also, so that you will be losing your track. So a leader, if he has to reach his target, he should definitely be looking at who are the team of people who are there with me. And once I have the right set of people, I really don't need to bother, because the right people, they know as to how to take this organization forward. They know it. And even if they do not know, they will figure it out. Google is always there, isn't it? So, second aspect which is so important for this leader, number one, in terms of the consumer and the customer and the environment. Number two, the set of people that he has with him. And number three, obviously, if I have brighter people than me, I always have a challenge of retaining them. Isn't it? Why should they work for me? And in today's scenario, when the average years of service that people put in is something like about 2.5 to 3 years' time, which is so sad with Indian corporates today. So how do you retain these people? So if I need to move across and then reach the path that I have set for myself, I need to have the right people, and this guy has that personal charisma. It is not that, many of these leaders, if you are come across, they will not be great orators. They may not be great speakers, but they know where to look at engaging those people. They provide that every single opportunity for those people who have that potential. They can differentiate the two individuals and then provide those opportunities for those people so that they feel accomplished. Now, if somebody could make an institution which was about a 1 crore or a 2 crore company into a $1 billion company. Now, the team of people who went along this path, would you feel that they have really felt accomplished or they have really achieved something out of the world? If you were to be one of those persons who started off in in an organization which is just about 1 or 2 crore company, and in your own span of 10, 15 years, you have turned it around into a $1 billion company, what would be your sense of accomplishment? That is what a leader provides. And the third one, so having said, in terms of the customer, the consumer, and in terms of the second one, in terms of the people, the third one is in terms of what kind of organization that this person is building. A leader is somebody, the third dimension is the culture that he sets in terms of the organization. A culture of excellence. You would have understood, working for Steve Jobs was supposed to be one of the most difficult things for these people. He was the most finicky guy. He would not accept anything other than perfection and perfection and perfection. It was one of those toughest things to work for this guy. Now, the culture that this individual sets in this organization is that one of excellence, perfection, and a culture of openness, transparency, and a culture of mutual trust and respect. This will be the foundation based on which this leader will be able to take this forward. If a person in terms of the integrity and the values of this organization, the leader sets the priorities and those which are non-negotiable. If somebody were to be there, any situation, every single day will pose you 101 situations where you need to take those decisions and the hard calls, difficult calls. It can be a situation wherein, I may be losing a 100 crore rupee order. So what do I do? And a leader can, without flinching, he will be able to say, yes, if it is gone, gone. We will not go by deviating any of the values or in terms of the integrity of the organization. Now, why I am saying that this is important is what differentiates the leaders of today and the leaders of tomorrow, if at all you really want to understand. In terms of the first two areas, the individual having his own vision and the dynamism and his determination and his humility and whatnot, this is all very important. This is there yesterday also, and it will remain today, and it will remain for tomorrow as well, which will be as fundamental. What will set the dimension for tomorrow, which is going to be very different, is in terms of the organizations having to look at and introspect in terms of their governance, compliance, and the footprint that they are making in this society. Now today, the organizations will be talking about in terms of what is the carbon footprint that I am making. Now, we never talked about it 25 years back. And nor did the Western world, did they talk about when the Industrial Revolution was happening there, or not did they look about it. But for various vexatious reasons, they would like to thrust it upon us today. That's a different matter. But you cannot absolve yourself from the carbon footprint that you will be making in the organizations that you will be making tomorrow. You cannot be deviant from in terms of a diverse and inclusive culture that you need to set in. You cannot have a situation wherein your policies will be anywhere in deviation with the compliance and governance, not only in your place, but anywhere across the world. Gone are the days when the organization used to talk about saying that, yes, I have taken care of, I have created the wealth for 10,000 people in my organization and the families, that means about 1 lakh people. I have created the wealth and I have created the GDP for this country. Now, tomorrow's leader will have to look at in terms of, because that will be the demand of the day. And if that is not there, the people will not respect him. So the demands of tomorrow are going to be entirely in terms of what kind of an organization and the image that he is building. You would all have known across about Rajat Gupta's, isn't it? Yeah? Okay, one fine day everything broke. And it's the same individual who created the ISBs, and we all are so proud about that institution today. But in one whiff of wind, everything is gone. So tomorrow, none of the youngsters today, they would like to join an organization which is not gender friendly, which is not an inclusive culture, which is not diverse in terms of across the religions and the races and in terms of the physical forms. You would like the organization. So the leader has to set those examples right. You are talking about the carbon footprint. You are talking about the environment factors. So a leader of tomorrow will have to be in a global world. So his set of challenges are going to be entirely different. And that's the only one. Be it whether technology has changed, whether you have become more tech savvy, people are now on the Facebooks or something else. These things can keep coming and going. And suddenly you will find that Facebook is losing all its commercial value. Okay? So these are the variances that can always keep happening. But the one fundamental ones that will remain and will take the individuals are So I said in terms of one thing I forgot to say is in terms of the culture of safety. Organizations are much more savvy today, and the global organizations are very, very sensitive in terms of creating the culture of safety. Okay. So that is the dimension in terms of what sets a leader of yesterday or present day or of tomorrow. I really don't want to dwell into. It's the same. It's the same human being who will have that vision, who will need to have a direction and a sense of purpose, and creating that roadmap for others. He can make it as simple for others to follow, because the followers will not be able to understand what this conky guy is talking about. Okay, so he needs to translate it into very, very small followable steps for his delinquent people. And the one which you talk about is the one that connects him with his people would be, he may be a great guy. You talk about all those leaders that you can imagine. One fundamental thing that will be running is that humility. It is that which separates a true leader. So at no point of time should you leave out this very essential thread that runs across all these people, that is in terms of the humility. Now, having said that, you can, for all your theoretical inputs, etc., you can dissect into the three components. A leader, great leader. Okay? For the understanding purpose, you talked about all these people who have created the empires of multi-billion dollars and billions of dollars, etc. To understand what really made them. But every single one of you is a leader. And you are the future leader. You would have been a leader for your class or your section or your university or your institution or your function or whatever it is. Now, what is that is going to set you to understand as to what is going to be there? To understand as to whether you are the leader, you can understand in terms of the three dimensions. Leaving apart the three dimensions that we talked about in terms of the consumer external, and in terms of the people, and in terms of the third dimension, which is talking about the culture. When you look at in terms of your own leaders, you divide them into three categories. One, in terms of the thought. The thought, when we are talking about, how does this guy's brain work? You're all talking about some logic, and this guy suddenly springs up and talks about something else. Very illogical. Okay? So how does this guy's mind work? So flowing out of that is in terms of the thought leadership. This guy's mind is always something very inquisitive, very creative. It can look at things differently. It can create those connecting pictures. It can look at the big picture. And it can look at things very rationally, logically, and also it can look at in terms of the predictability. Obviously, if this guy's mind is on these lines, definitely yes, you can assume that he will be a good leader. Now, having said that, if that alone is there, I can have any number of ideas, but if I am not able to get them converted into the results, it's of no meaning. So comes into the second area of requirement is in terms of your results competency. Who will be able to persist? There will be 101 challenges, 1,000 areas where he will fail. But this guy will be able to persist with that. He can tell 100 others, don't worry, we are going to succeed. And he will create those areas where he can pitch in and see that it is succeeded. And you will have every, not one in lakh you will find this kind of people, but you will find all others who can say at the drop of a hat, they will say, no, this is not working. Now, in today's organizations, you find, this is the unfortunate fate that we are going through in India. Every second, third year, the individuals, they are ready to change their jobs. The minute I hit a path where, the going is a little tough, well, the economy has also been growing, and the people are also ready to drop that and then keep running around. Now, the second important area for a good leader is one who can persist, who is there to create that success stories. And with that, he builds the team. And the third one is obviously, when he is working with the people, he has to guide and coach and people develop them along. And this would be the three areas. And definitely for the leader of the future, as we talked about, is the area of what kind of imprint that I am making in the society, what kind of environmental impact that I am making, what is the carbon impact, what is the culture of diversity or culture of inclusivity. This would be the areas of challenge for the days of the people tomorrow. Okay? Thank you all so much. Wish you all the